Hello everyone, back to you into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days in today's video. This will take us more or less to the end of September. We'll go to 29th of the month with this update. So it's turned cooler. Of course, we had the heat last week, that incredible heat wave that we had last week. That's gone. It went at the end of the week. Been a much cooler, fresher weekend. We're keeping these fairly cool conditions now, I think, through more or less month's end. There will be some day-by-day changes. A few days will be a bit warmer, a few nights will be a bit warmer, but no return to that very extensive heat that we had last week. So temperatures will be averaging out, I think, quite close to average through the remainder of September. Nothing particularly cool coming up, though, so not really going to be anything to dramatically offset the very hot start September that we had, the first 2 weeks. So I don't think we're not going to get the Central England temperature record. I think that's definitely off the cards, but we're going to have a significantly warmer than average month. There's nothing to take us back to average September temperatures in the next week to 10 days. So we'll just see a very gradual drop in the temperature, I think, over the coming week to 10 days, and we'll probably finish up somewhere around a degree and a half above average, something like that. So it'll be a solidly warmer than average month again to go along with most of the months so far this year, but I don't think it'll be a record breaker. So I'll show you the detail on the central temperature. Going to start off that, and then I'll have a look at the next week to 10 days as well. Before I get on with that, though, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all pages. Have a browse widgets, click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. You'll help us to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. This video adds most pages. They open up content when you watch my close book up again. Just help to pay the gas worth. So we start off with the CT. So this is provisional up to yesterday, where we still stand at 17.1, an anomaly of 3.1 degrees above average. This peaked last week, about Thursday, I think it was, at 17.5. So it's gradually been reducing over the weekend. Still reducing. Now, we're still just warmer than any month so far this year. So we're warmer than any of the summer months. June came out at 15.3, July at 16.9, and August at 17.0. So we're 0.1 of a degree still above the hottest month of the year. However, this is going to keep reducing over the next week to 10 days. So there's no way September is going to finish up as the hottest month this year. Of course, it is does have the hottest day of the year. That won't be taken away. So September, very late and unusual to get that, is going to hold the hottest day of 2016. But in terms of the month, August is going to end up the warmest month of the year quite solidly, I would have thought. The September CET record is 16.8 from 2006, 10 years ago. We're not going to get that either. That record looks very safe now, I think. So it could be a solidly above average month, around a degree and a half, perhaps 2 degrees above average, something like that. But not a record-breakingly hot September. These are the mean flowcharts for the next week to 10 days. We've got the GFS here on the top. Not got the ECMWF. I've only been doing this for, 4 years. The ECMWF is on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by a jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure and orange to high pressure. So we see with the ECMWF that we've got quite a deep trough in the Atlantic, and tight lines here. The jet stream is strengthening, still generally more or less to the north of the country, but that jet stream is picking up, and it's putting this ridge from the Azores high that's still down over Spain and France. It's putting it under pressure. So I think we're going to see unsettled conditions at times for the north and west, but south and east will continue to hang on to the driest conditions. But even here, because the jet stream is picking up in the next week to 10 days, I think we'll see some rain coming through at times. For example, today we have got quite a cloudy, damp day across much of England and Wales. Got a few more days like that, as albeit weakening, weather systems come south and eastwards across the country, but for the north that does actually look quite unsettled. The GFS shows that ridge a little bit stronger to the south of us, and again fairly strong jet stream running just to the north, then doing something a bit like that. I think the GFS was a bit over top with that ridge down to the south. I think the ECMDF looks more plausible, where the south and east will have dry conditions at times, but the north and west could actually be quite unsettled. GFS temperature precipitation ensembles look like this. So deal with temperatures first of all. The red line here is 30-year temperature average, very close to average for the remainder of this week. So as I say, we're not going to see anything notably cool coming up to really send the average temperatures for CET, send it crashing. We're not going to get that, but because we're going to be close to average and we have such a warmer than average first half of the month, we will see a gradual day-by-day decline in the average temperatures through the coming week. We get through the weekend, it looks like we get a brief push up in the temperatures then, nothing hot, but a bit of a warmer day possible on Saturday, before again it goes quite cool into Sunday. Early next week may push the temperatures up again very briefly before they drop again, so perhaps a little bit of a zonal sine wave beginning to appear there actually, where we're going warmer and then cooler, then warmer and then cooler, and so on. And what is happening there is that it's telling us that we're becoming more Atlantic dominated. The jet stream is strengthening, pushing areas of low pressure into the country, and these low pressures contain warm fronts, which places us in a warmer sector, and then cold fronts, which places us in a colder sector are there. The next area of low pressure comes along and the whole process repeats again. So a bit up and down with the temperatures, a little bit of a sign of a zonal sine wave. That's something that we'll probably see quite a lot of over the coming few months. For precipitation, there are quite a few rainfall spikes actually, just telling us that we may well be going into a more changeable period as we approach the latter stages of September. So for the coming week, we have got some rain coming up. Most of it looks light and showery in nature, but there will be rain at times through the course of this week with these average temperatures. And then we go through to the weekend. As the temperature pushes up on Saturday, that's associated with quite big rainfall spikes, actually. So Saturday, Sunday, we could bring some active weather fronts down across the country, producing outbreaks of fairly hefty rain possible over the weekend, perhaps. Into next week, and again, we have got precipitation spikes coming through there. So it's a more changeable period. I think that is the message from the GFS ensembles this morning, going into a more changeable period. That is the ensemble for London. Let's just briefly look at the ensemble for Manchester, and that's even wetter. And as you can see, it's in the northwest of England, so it's typically is wetter than down in London, and we have got very consistent rainfall spikes there, really from start to finish on the ensemble. So definitely signs at the north and west wetter than the south and east, but even in the south and east, because the jet stream is strengthening, these areas of low pressure beginning to get more organised and more autumnal looking. I think even in the south and east we could well get some rainfall over the coming week to 10 days. Temperature anomalies still coming out a bit above average, so going from the 19th to 27th of September, still more or less in the pink colours, but they are reducing, these anomalies, not anywhere near the hot anomaly that we had right in at the start of the month, when you'll remember these charts were going up towards the top end of the scale, the deep reds. We've not got that for next week to 10 days, but still a little bit above average overall. Precipitation anomalies still showing England and Wales, generally fairly dry, drier than average, more changeable up to the north. I would expect these to start trending wetter over the coming few days. I've got a feeling where you see all of this blue up here, which is above average precipitation anomalies, that's the jet stream, of course, running through, and we know it's strengthening. I would suspect what's going to happen over the next week or so with these charts is that this blue area will begin to expand out. The south and east could still be generally quite a bit on the drier side through to month's end, but I've got a feeling we'll trend wetter actually as we progress through the remainder of September. Will be interesting to see. So here's the generic charts. This is the GFS for Friday. Ridge of high pressure down in the south, low pressure up to the north. So it's a good representation of the height anomaly, really. You've got the ridge down here, got low pressure up here. I'm not sure quite what's gone wrong there. Let's get rid of that and start again. So we've got the ridge down here across France, got low pressure up here with the jet stream, which is strengthening, going up to the north and the west of the country. It means Scotland all line has cloud and rain, England and Wales mostly dry. Weekend, we find this weather system pushing down from the north and west, so it could be quite an active weather front with that on 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. It's in that sort of zone. Could give quite a bit of wet weather Saturday into Sunday across parts of the country. That clears away. Early next week, we build this little bit of a ridge back up from the Azores High. The Azores High is trying to cling on. It's the Azores High that's given us all of the hot weather over the past few weeks. It's trying desperately to cling on, but it's fighting against an increasingly choppy and stormy northern Atlantic, where the autumnal areas of low pressure really are starting to get themselves more organised at this point. So we carry on through into Tuesday, and again high pressure just trying to cling on to the south, deep areas of low pressure to the north of Scotland, and we go through into the middle and last stages of next week. This is day 10, Thursday 29th of September, where again bit of a north-south split really. Scotland North line looking very changeable, quite windy, outbreaks of rain at times, pretty cool as well. The Azores High still just about holding on across France to keep southern parts of the country mainly dry, but as we saw in the ensemble, there are bouts of rain, albeit weakening bouts of rain, progressing into the south because these areas of low pressure to the north of us are getting so deep. The ECM very similar, so go through to the weekend. We've got high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north on Saturday. That low pressure moves in from the Atlantic Saturday. It's sunny, probably gives us all a bout of wet weather. Early next week, the Azores High is a little bit weaker actually with the ECM. We saw it on the height anomaly, so this is Tuesday 27th, where it looks actually quite wet and windy for many parts of the country. The south just about holding on to dryish conditions, but most parts of the country actually looking quite wet and windy there. Middle of next week, the ridge trying to strengthen a bit to the south, so that's the north-south split. Southern parts keeping a fair amount of dry weather, or getting a fair amount of dry weather there. Northern parts looking cloudy, wet and windy. There's the upper air temperatures for day 10, showing it's reasonably warm down in the south, quite cool up in the north. But GEM, I'll just show you this. I don't often show you the GEM, but the Canadian model is quite a bit more unsettled than these two. So over weekend, same idea. We bring this area of low pressure down from the north and west. Band of quite heavy rain comes in, and then we've got the remnants of an Atlantic storm now. I think that's a tropical storm type feature decaying in the northern Atlantic. It looks very intense, and what the GEM does with that is it starts to run it in. I'm not sure quite why that keeps popping up. It starts to run this area of low pressure in from the west. So here we go up to Wednesday 28th. Next week, a very, very deep Atlantic storm is over the country then. Central pressure of 965 millibars. That will bring torrential rain and gales, or severe gales, across the country. I think the GEM is off on a tangent with that. It very often does go off on a tangent, and I think that's what it's doing there. But it certainly does turn it significantly more unsettled and pretty stormy there, the GEM, through the middle part of next week. If we do weaken the Azores High enough to really bring the jet stream and low pressures down across the country, it's not impossible that we could have quite a stormy spell, because the sea surface temperature anomalies around the country have actually become quite warm. Had a fairly warm summer, of course, so these are the sea surface temperature anomalies around the UK. They're generally above average, particularly so to the east of us in the North Sea. Of course, that's a very shallow sea, so it is very prone to having quite extreme swings in the temperatures. But generally, it is fairly warm across much of the Northern Atlantic, around our part of the Northern Atlantic anyway. So if the jet stream does start to strengthen, and if we start to bring the jet stream down across the country, because there's a lot of energy available to the jet stream via these warm Atlantic sea surface temperature anomalies, it isn't impossible that we could go into quite a stormy period. So it just depends whether the Azores high will be able to hang on enough to keep the Atlantic and the jet stream at bay or not. But if it doesn't, if it starts to push back, let's say towards the Azores, it's displaced north and has been much of the sun. But if it starts to move back towards the Azores, it's not impossible, because there's a lot of energy in the sea surface temperature anomalies, sea surface temperatures. It's not impossible that we might have quite a wet, stormy spell at some point through this autumn. We'll wait and see how that works out. So that's how it's looking for next week to 10 days. I think we're looking at a more changeable second half of September, most definitely. Temperatures are going to be close to average, maybe it's a little bit above down in the south, but we'll gradually see the average temperatures for September reducing. We're not going to get the hottest month on record, or hottest September on record, but it is going to be solidly above average, because whilst temperatures are going to be reducing, there's nothing desperately cool coming up to really send those average temperatures for September crashing. So we're going to finish up above average for this September, definitely, but not a record breaker. And it's going to be turning more changeable, especially to the north, driest conditions down in the south. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.